Hi, my name is Jeremiah Song. I'm a student at Michigan State University. I'm a part of our Asian Pacific American Student Organization, and I am also the current UVSA State Representative for the state of Michigan. This video was an idea to raise awareness about the fall of Saigon as the anniversary rolls around at the end of this month on April 30th. When the idea was first proposed, I questioned why we even had to bother raising awareness about the event. It's, to me, sounded self-explanatory, and I figured a lot of people already knew about it. But when asking around, I found out that no one really had much of an opinion, nor knew exactly what it was. They only knew whatever extent their parents or grandparents had told them. When I started looking more into it, I realized just how little I knew as well. I had to actually look up multiple pieces of information to figure out exactly what significance the fall of Saigon had, exactly what significance the date had. And it was then when I started realizing just what kind of impacts this event had on so many different people's lives. To say that it had a direct impact on me would be a bit of a lie. Not so much a lie, but more of a stretch, because I'm not even Vietnamese. As many of you may know, I'm actually of Korean descent. So during the time this event had happened, none of my family was in Vietnam nor anywhere near, nor were they affected at all by any Vietnamese. So I had to really sit and think about what this event meant to me. And that's when I started talking to more and more of my Vietnamese friends, asking them, like, what's their opinion of the event. Whether or not they had an opinion, I started to realize just how many people I was asking this to. It was another part of this realization of how many Vietnamese friends I actually have was when my one friend just the other night had seen me on a Facebook chat, and I was talking to someone with the last name Nguyen, and he joked around with me and said, "Wow, you know all the Nguyen's." And even though that's completely false, because I know just how many Nguyen's there are, it's just like our Kims, Parks, and Lees. I did realize how many Vietnamese friends I had, and it was a sobering thought to think that maybe some of these friends wouldn't be around if the fall of Saigon had never happened. You know, what would have happened had their family not emigrated from Vietnam and immigrated to the States? Reflecting on it, I realized just which people had such a key role in my life, even all the way back to my childhood. Back when I was in second grade, one of my closest friends was my neighbors, who were of Vietnamese descent, actually the first Nguyen's I had ever met. And through them I learned very minimal information and knowledge about their culture, but still it had an effect on me. I knew, what Vietnamese was, and it kind of set a foundation there. And then going further into the present, I started realizing how involved I started getting into our VSA and all the people I met through that. And honestly speaking, I ultimately would not be where I am today had it not been for these people. I would have never thought about attending the Vietnamese Interacting as One conference, and I wouldn't be speaking as a state representative for Michigan. And through this position, I've just met so many great people, and I can't imagine just how upsetting my life would be if I'm not where I am today had I not met, some of the closest friends I've made through, VSA and all the other Vietnamese organizations and events that I've attended. I can't say that the fall of Saigon was a good thing, because I understand that for families coming from the southern region, that it was potentially a very dark day for them, leaving everything behind and picking up and starting a new life in a complete foreign land. I feel like for many coming from the South that it's actually a day of defeat, a day to mourn, and that some don't even want to remember the day. Some of the earlier generation Vietnamese parents and grandparents, from what I've heard from my friends, don't even like speaking of the war or the end result. And I understand, but at the same time I believe that we should take this as a day to commemorate the lives that were lost throughout the entire war, whether North, South, Vietnamese, or American. A life is a life, and they were all fighting for a purpose. And I think that those lives that were lost should be remembered, because death itself is such a tragic event. So the fall of Saigon never had a direct impact on me per se, but the people that it did have somewhat of a direct impact on, more of a direct impact on, through their parents and grandparents, their direct impact has had an impact on me. So with that, I think more and more people should really reflect on, the people they know, and just what significance this event had on so many different lives, not just those of Vietnamese descent. Take it from me, a guy who never really saw myself as a person to leave my whole Korean American bubble, and now I'm the state representative for all VSAs in Michigan, and I couldn't have done it without the people that I've met through VSA, and that I'm very grateful for all of them being in my lives.